Everyone is comparing him to Joe Goldberg. Everyone is talking about how he stalked her and the red flags in him. But not a lot of people are talking about the red flags in her. The most awkward moment in this Q&A that nobody's really talking about. And most importantly, the danger of the manifestation mindset. How manifestation can turn into manipulation to control somebody and keep them with you. And even gaslight them. Or even gaslight yourself into believing that whatever is happening is what you have manifested. That can make you think glass is diamond. I'm a hypnotherapist and I make hypnosis recordings for people to manifest things. I also know the danger of that. So I walk on a very thin line. But what I really want to do in this video is be very unbiased and take everything in consideration. We're going to see the red flags in him, the red flags in her, the green flags in him, the green flags in her. The reason this is gonna be unbiased because I only heard of those two people last night. Let's start with talking about this manifestation culture because it's a main character in this relationship between Wizard Liz and Landon. So what a lot of people don't like about this manifestation culture is that it sounds like witchcraft. You'll often hear things like write down what you want and let the universe bless you with it, or write down these things on a paper and then burn them and let them go, or be open to receive and say these positive affirmations and all of that stuff. While they're not bad, there are some side effects to that. And I'm saying this as a hypnotherapist, and there are tons of myths about hypnotherapy. I know that also sounds like witchcraft, which is not. You can watch my video about that. But I'm a very realistic person. So when it comes to this manifestation, there are a few things that I do not like. First, the misconception of not putting in the work. Here's how a lot of people do this manifestation. Say you go through some manifestation ritual. Simple and easy. You meditate, you clear your mind, you say what you want or you write it down. You say you want a call from an ex, and 5 days after this manifestation ritual, you get the call. Oh my god, it works, right? Why wouldn't you do it again? Of course you will. So let's say you do it with money. You write down how much you want, exactly how much you want. You even write down things that you would do with that money, what you would buy, where you would go and eat, and all of these things, right? And a few days later, you get that money, you get some promotion at work, or even you find it in the street, whatever. You get that money. Oh my god, this is freaking awesome. So of course, this becomes your answer to everything. So you try it again and again. You manifest a job. You see a job post. Your mind says, oh, this is the answer to my manifestations. You apply. Even though you don't really have the experience for it, the job post says we need at least 5 years, but you have 4. So your mind, your heart, your soul is like, I have done this manifestation ritual, and this is the job post that I found by coincidence. Obviously, this is the answer to my manifestation. So you apply. And because you believe that, you go in, you walk into the interview with lots of confidence. You convince them to maybe try you for a couple of weeks, or you just convince them to get you the job, right? And you do great and everything, but maybe a month later, something wrong happens. They figure out that maybe 4 years isn't enough, or something wrong happens in the job, and then you get fired. What usually happens when people have this mindset of manifestation and they manifest something and it happens, they manifest something and it happens, and for this one thing maybe didn't work, so sometimes they would lose faith. They feel angry with God, with the universe, whatever. You try manifesting again, but of course this time you do it with anger, so you don't put the right energy, so you go into a spiral of believing and disbelieving and all of that stuff. This is very similar to the whole twin flame thing, when two people just believe that they are supposed to be with each other and they're having this toxic relationship, but no, you're my twin flame, so they make it work because it's supposed to work. This is the second reason I do not like this manifestation mindset, is that it kind of makes you dim your critical factor, kind of makes you dim your logical sense, your mind, and you're just depending on the manifestation, and that's what's moving you. You feel like there's some kind of power moving you, which brings me to the third reason I don't like this. It can bring this egoistic main character syndrome, or like magical thinking, mystical creatures moving me or something like that, which is so unrealistic and sounds like lots of woohoo. So keep that in mind to the end of the video, because that's the lens that they looked through. Everything that's happening around me is my manifestation. So from the start, they met at an airport. What are the odds? You meet someone you've never met in person in the airport? It must be the manifestation. The odds are 100%, because every time you go to the airport, you meet tons of people that you haven't met in person. And actually, you can meet people that you know. This happened with me about 3 months ago. I was going from country A to country B. And a friend of mine who I haven't spoken to in like a month or so, we were both going through our own stuff, and he was going from country A, the same country I was in, to country C, different country. But he had a layover in country B, where I was landing. What are the odds that as I was standing in front of the elevator to go down, he was walking and taking the elevator next to me to go up? I don't know what the odds were, but like, that's what happened, because like, life happens. Look, if you want to make anything sounds magical, you can. Oh my god, yesterday I was walking in the street and I was feeling very hot. Suddenly, this ice cream truck appeared. Wow, my manifestation is freaking awesome. And this is exactly the same reason biases exist. We look through specific lens. You see those screenshots of his messages with that woman on Snapchat, so you look through the lens of he's toxic, he's a liar, and that's why lots of people took every little thing he did or said in that Q&A interview as red flags. However, where was your smart before that? Why didn't you see those signs before, or those red flags before? I'm guessing because you were looking through the lens of the perfect relationship that the amazing Wizard Liz manifested, especially if you were one of her fans. My request is, take those lenses off right now before you continue this video, because if you don't, this video is gonna piss you off real bad. But I'm gonna take it slow. I'm gonna progress it. First, when they explain how they met in the airport, she says, I don't post my location. There is no way he could have known where I was. And he smiles as she's saying that. Lots of people said that he was smirking or smiling because he like tracked her or found her IP or whatever data, metadata he could get, right? So now that you took those biases off, I want you to know something that I learned from Spidey on YouTube. He's a body language analyst and a psychologist. And I learned from him that if you want to read someone's body language, you have to look at their baseline. And their baseline is when they're comfortable. In interviews, usually it's about how they start the interview. In this video, they started very similarly. They both were smiling, they both were looking at the camera, and they both were like grooming themselves, like fixing their hair, whatever, you know, just like making themselves presentable in front of the camera. So he's been smiling from start to the end. And he seemed to smile when he's relating to something or agreeing with something. So that smile when she says that she didn't share her location or whatever, sounds very consistent to me, to his body language from start to the end. But she says, here is the crazy part. We weren't supposed to be there. And then he shakes his head. There are two reasons of why he could be shaking his head. One, maybe in his mind, he was saying, no, you weren't supposed to be there. If that's what he was saying, my question is, well, how did you know that she wasn't supposed to be there? Is it because that's what she told you so many times and you're just believing her? Or is it because you knew that she wasn't supposed to be there? I don't know. The second reason of why he was shaking his head is that maybe in his mind he was agreeing with what she said when she said, this part is crazy. Sometimes when we say I can't believe it, we shake our head from the right to the left, you know? So this could be the second reason of why he was shaking his head, like, yeah, this part is crazy, it's unbelievable. Is this part very important to the red flags? No, it's not. I just wanted to warm you up into being unbiased. The second thing I want to talk about is why he explained his point of view, his background of when he met her, where his mindset was. Here's our first red flag. Lots of people were talking about how he was smiling when she told him, when she was talking about the vulnerable part about her family and being with a psychiatrist and all of that, which is a red flag that we're gonna come back to later. But I want to talk about the red flag when he was talking about how he got scammed by his friends and he was getting out of that hard relationship according to him, and it was hard on him and everything. It's not a pleasant thing to say, but she was, instead of listening to him, she was grooming her looks, fixing her hair, smiling, looking at the camera. It's not okay when he did it, but it's okay when she did, or maybe we didn't even see it when she did it. But explaining this point of view is very important to him, and I really want to explore why. But let's move forward when he says he walks to get his bag and he has this feeling that he was being led to that path that he was supposed to follow. Yeah, that sounds like a nerdy language. Absolutely not. A nerd talks about science, facts, evidence. They don't say I felt, I sensed. They don't even talk about manifestation. Name one real nerd that talks this way. That's a red flag to me. The language that he uses isn't consistent to what he says he is. And he sensed that he needed to look up immediately. Again, sensed and immediately, like tons of red flags here. First of all, the idealization language, the magical thinking, the unrealistic way of talking. Because this, like, I sensed that I needed to look up as if he knew what he was doing, doesn't make sense. Because when we're walking in an airport, we don't sense whatever. We're just walking around and looking around. So why is he making it sound that way? Why this idealization language? That has something to do with why he needed to explain his point of view. We're just collecting the clues now, and then we're going to glue them together. So then she continues about how she felt when she saw him. She says that she vaguely remember how he looked. He looked different. She says that when she saw his picture, one picture actually, she says, one picture 3 years ago, he looked nerdy, cute. I would love for you to go and listen how she said that, because it sounded condescending to me. I would love your opinion about it. Did that sound condescending or not to you? She saw that one picture 3 years ago, but somehow she recognized him while he was walking in the airport with the airport sweat, and he probably was sad after this relationship and being scammed and feeling betrayed by his friends and all of that. And somehow she recognized him from that one picture. Okay, I'm gonna take her word for it. And she says that she felt such an energy coming from him, and then he laughs when she says that. My question about this laugh, is it his baseline laugh? Was it a laugh because that sounded unrealistic or sounded like, oh, this is crazy kind of a thing? I don't know, but the smile here sounds a bit off. So he sees her with all of this context that we know about his point of view and his past relationship and everything, and then he sees her. This whole story that he said is very relevant to him, to how he met her. So let's put those clues together of their interactions and thoughts of each other before they met. He was a follower, and he says that in his head, he adored her. He said that whenever he had a hard time in a relationship, he would say, it's okay because there are girls like Wizard Liz out there. All of that with the idealization language. I was being led to this path that I was supposed to follow. All of this makes me have this conclusion that he felt that she was there to save him, which explains why when he saw her, he poured everything out and told her what happened with his friends or like girlfriend or everything that he told her, which is another red flag to me. Like, you don't meet someone for the very first time and just tell them everything. But in his mind, she was his savior. Then he explains the message that he wants you to know. He says,
I just want to clarify, imagine God hits you in the face with the answer to your prayers. You start praying for something. God is not going to give you what you want, he's going to give you what you need.
Really listen, he's saying that she was the answer to his prayers. This
the
right
answer
there
is a turning
that he didn't
point.
want.
This sets the scene
for how he looked at her, their dynamic, and even his responses to any of her behaviors throughout the relationship. I talk about this in depth in part 2, along with the most awkward moment in this whole Q&A. We're just getting started. There are even more red flags that a lot of people think are just normal or even cute. And I'm trying to make things short, but if you have a question, if you want me to expand on any of these ideas, please let me know, or you can visit the link in the description where you can actually ask me a question.